I'm sitting on the steps of one of the most famous tourist attractions on the Palos Verdes Peninsula, in fact in all of Southern California. Although it may look like I'm in a forest, I'm actually at the Wayfarers Chapel. Come inside with me as we explore this absolutely fascinating architectural landmark in Southern California.
The idea of a Wayfarers Chapel goes back many years to the 1920s, when one of our members of the Swedenborgian Church, Mrs. Schellenberg, her father was a Swedenborgian minister. She's a member of the local church down in Los Angeles. She lived up here on the peninsula. She always thought, wouldn't this be a neat place where there could be a little chapel where the travelers, and again, this was a dirt road at those times, not the freeways and so on.
We're talking about 1920?
The 1920s, could come by and on their trip, stop by for some spiritual refreshment.
Did they think way back then about getting married here?
Not really. The idea of the architecture was originally Ralph Chester. You may have heard of Ralph Chester. Lived right up here behind the chapel, and his design was a Spanish mission type of thing. And the idea there would be one of the California missions and so on. World War II came along, and all construction and so on ceased, as you know. Then, after the war, the plans again went forward. Ralph Chester was not really satisfied with his design, and he asked his friend, Lloyd Wright, to submit a design.
We're talking about the world famous.
We're talking about Frank Lloyd Wright, Jr.
Oh, Jr.
Yes, the son of the father. And he dropped the Frank and the Jr. and went by Lloyd.
Okay.
He had an experience following the war up in the Northern California redwoods. And he was having lunch one day in a restaurant, and he looked up through the skylight, and he saw these magnificent redwood trees arching overhead like a natural cathedral. And he was so impressed that he said, if I have a chance to build a church, this will be my inspiration.
Which is why this place is surrounded by, what kind of trees are these? Are these redwoods?
These are, surrounding the chapel itself are redwoods. Now, Lloyd Wright was an environmental or organic architect. And
way back then, he was thinking organic?
Yep.
Wow.
And for one of the tenets of that is that it's not the trees that surround it that are sacred. It's the space within that is sacred space.
Which is interesting because I look at all the glass here. I mean, you don't usually somehow associate a place of worship being built basically of glass.
Well, the idea is this would be a natural sanctuary in the midst of the forest. The glass is simply to connect you the inside and outside, not to form a barrier, as most churches have stained glass and walls. There would be no barriers to the trees surrounding you. And I think it's the sense of sacred space and the way Lloyd Wright constructed and the site and all of that accounts for the sense of beauty that you feel and sense of worship that you feel when you enter the chapel.
I think one of the things, in fact, I know one of the things that really attracted me and my wife, even though the Brits aren't meant to be romantic, I think we chose this place because it is a very, very romantic setting.
Oh, it's a gorgeous place. It's awe-inspiring. Over the years, I have watched people come in and literally sit down, and I can see once in a while the tears coming, and I know
the tears?
Tears that there's this very intimate relationship going on between the individual and their sense of what God is like. It's a wonderful experience, and that's what the whole idea of Wayfarers Chapel is. It's a place where ordinary men, women, children can come and experience this sense of release, of reflection, of prayer, whatever you want to call this thing, this dialogue that we establish with the creative force of the universe. Well, I have to say this. I have no idea how many weddings I have conducted over the years. Matter of fact, I've stayed away from that kind of statistic, because if I said to you and your wife, you are the 3,750th wedding I've celebrated here, that trivializes your relationship. But you need to be very special. You need to feel that you're is the only wedding going on that day, and so on, and feel really special. That's what we want to do, is lift up the value of relationships and celebrate them here in the midst of the chapel and the sense of the presence of God.
Let's go and take a look at some of the other facilities that you have here. I know one of the most beautiful, or one of the many beautiful things here, are the incredible vistas that you get right outside the chapel.
My wife says I have the most beautiful working conditions in the world. Yeah. So anyway, you were asking about the trees. These were redwoods. And you can just now, as you look up, just begin to get that sense of the branches overarching. Now, these were planted like little saplings 60 years ago. And by the way, we're glad you came, because we are almost ready to celebrate our 60th anniversary. Wow. The chapel was opened dedicated on Mother's Day, 1951. So coming up, we'll be 60 years here.
Harvey, we're standing outside the chapel, and over there in the near distance is the Visitors Chapel. What exactly is that, a visitor center?
The Visitor Center is a place where we can welcome wayfarers. They will come wanting to know more about the chapel, what it is about, and pointing them to different locations on the grounds they may wish to stroll through, and a little bit about the services we offer, and a little bit about the architecture, and a little bit about Emanuel Swedenborg and our denomination. So it serves as a place where people can come and be greeted and welcomed.
Do you also have a gift shop?
There's a little gift shop in there, yes, where they can purchase various literature, some remembrances of their visit, and so on.
What about things like websites? I'm sure when people watch this, they want to know, is there a phone number they can call? And I'm sure that you have a website.
Oh, yes, we have a very, very nice website. It's www.wayfarerschapel.org.
And would you prefer that to someone calling, or would you like to also have a phone number?
They're also welcome to call 310-377-1650.
And I'm sure, as we're all getting older every year, I'm sure this will be here, hopefully, for literally hundreds of years.
We certainly trust that and pray that happens.
So if you're thinking of getting married in a really romantic setting, come on down here to the Wayfarers Chapel. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm John Clayton.